The San Francisco 49ers are an awesome team, and the current roster right now is something to behold. It is a special roster, and I always end our videos saying what a time to be alive, because I really believe if we took a 10,000-foot view on this season next to all the seasons around it, and we have no idea how long this Super Bowl window is going to be, but it's definitely a special time to be looking at this team and to just say it is special to be in a Super Bowl window. It just is. And a lot of teams would give their right leg just to be in our position. So I'm not going to complain about that. And today I was reading Sports Illustrated and I caught a super interesting take on another new addition to this roster, Ricky Pearsall. And I'll be honest with you, if you weren't looking for this, you would have completely missed it. In a really long article, you would have just missed this take completely. It's good news, I'll tell you that much. Later in the video, I'll also be talking about a wild take that they had on Los Angeles Rams and how I think there's no way that it's physically possible what they're saying is going to happen. But if you're new here, I'm Nate, and we are talking the San Francisco 49ers every day. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the conversation. Well, here's the good news around Ricky Pearsall. Connor Orr expects Ricky Pearsall to have such a good season. Such a good start to the season that we're going to let Brandon Aiyuk go. We're going to trade him away. I'm going to give you all the details on what he thinks is going to play out to make that happen in just a second, but comment below, before we even get into it, could Ricky Pearsall be that good in his first few games this season? Could it be that good that a national sports analyst from SI thinks that the 49ers are going to push Brandon Aiyuk down to another team because we have such a great wide receiver in Ricky Pearsall? That is a bit of a wild take if you ask me. Don't get me wrong. I hope for the absolute best for Ricky Pearsall. I hope he has an outstanding season. I hope he starts off getting a few targets a game, and by the end of the season, he's getting 20 targets a game because he's that good. That would be awesome. Okay, maybe 20 is a little bit extreme. But if he was that good, that would be amazing. Sure, awesome. Love it. But do you think that's possible? Let me know in the comments if you think that's actually possible. I don't know about that. But here is the article from Connor Orr from Sports Illustrated, talking about a bunch of different big takes. He does this every year, and he's been right about a surprising number of them. I'm not going to tell you exactly which ones because it might make you sad when we think about last year's Super Bowl and all that good stuff. But here's the take here. Brandon Aiyuk will be traded to the New Orleans Saints at the deadline. After a strong showing by rookie first-round pick Ricky Pearsall, the 49ers will deem the contractless Aiyuk expendable and find a willing suitor in the surprising feisty Saints, who will have a winning record at the deadline, and one of Aiyuk's former offensive coaches, Clint Kubiak, calling the plays. So let me know. Do you think that that's actually possible? Here's why I don't think it's possible. I'm just going to tell you my take, and I look forward to talking about it with you in the comments, and feel free to disagree with me. It's all fun in games. That's why we talk sports, right? It's good stuff. But I feel like it's very unrealistic to think, firstly, that a deal doesn't get done going into the season. Brandon Aiyuk, even his social media posts, the games he's playing, it just feels to me like an unlikely thing that the deal doesn't get done. Granted, he is still on contract. He's still under contract, with the 49ers. So sure, it's possible. Theoretically possible. Absolutely. But a lot of things have to happen. He has to turn down what will probably end up being closer to 27 and a half, 28, maybe even 29 million per year. He'd have to turn down that contract because the 49ers are going to try and meet him in the middle. This is how these things go, right? I think it's wild to think that it's possible. But what it does say, because that has to happen, plus Ricky Pearsall has to be amazing, right? But what it does say is what Connor Orr thinks about Ricky Pearsall, which I have not heard a lot of love on the national side around Ricky Pearsall. A lot of local love, not a lot of national love. So I'm excited to hear that there's somebody else out there whose ears are perking up around Ricky Pearsall and think this guy's going to be a stud, which I think he is too, but goodness, I don't know. It's technically possible. I don't think it's going to be possible. Another take that he had, the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Dolphins will struggle to and likely miss the over on their projected win totals this season. Let's talk about quickly Cowboys, Dolphins. Cowboys, totally see it. Very possible. Really good team, but I don't think they have the stuff. They year after year. Going back to the Tony Romo era. I just don't think they have it. I don't think they have what it takes to win in the playoffs when it really matters. But This is the regular season, so I guess suppose, maybe that doesn't count there, but do they really have the stuff? I don't know. Dolphins, that one surprises me a little bit because I do think 9.5 for the Dolphins looks pretty meaty for the sports bettors out there because they have an incredible offense. So, we'll see. Who knows what happens. But the 49ers in at 11.5. These are the odds he's using to say, and come on. The way he writes this is like a little bit too fair, right? Struggle to meet 11.5, the over, which would be 12, right? Struggle to be a 12-win team. Tell me one team in the NFL that's not going to struggle to be a 12-win team. This is the NFL we're talking about. That's not really a hot take at all. That's not a big take. That's not a great take. That's a weird take, if you ask me. Yes, it's going to be hard. We've talked about it. We've talked about where I have wins and losses for this team. Excuse me, those are opponents. There we go. Where I have wins and losses for this team and some of these games that I think are kind of 50-50 games, let's say, that we might win, we might lose. And yeah, it's very, very possible that they'll struggle to be a 12-win team. I have them at a 12-win team right now, but it's going to be a struggle. So yeah, anyway, moving on to the last pick about the 49ers that they had. And this one actually isn't about the 49ers, but it's about the Rams, that they'll win the NFC West. This is crazy. Okay, so obviously picking them to be a 12-win team, you have it right here, 12-win team, and picking them to win the NFC West. Let's just take two angles on that. The first one is, did they actually have a good offseason? Because this was their early PFF ranking in the offseason, but failed to criticize in any way, shape, or form, right? Aaron Donald's retirement is the one thing that's like the big negative side, and that's about the only thing that they've allowed in this particular article. But that's not completely the most recent information, at least. Now we have ESPN's take, which is this. And theirs was a B-. So that's below average, according to the takes. They're usually ABC. The Rams spent free agency investing in veterans to improve their secondary and their interior of their offensive line as they brought in Jackson from Lions and re-signed Kevin Dotson. These signings aren't guaranteed wins. White is coming off an Achilles injury, and the guards probably were overpriced. They bought high on Williams, who is coming off a season in which he allowed just 1 yard per coverage snap, which is a little bit better than average, but they only guaranteed him $7 million. The message is clear. Despite losing Aaron Donald to retirement, the Rams are going for it again while they still can with quarterback Matthew Stafford. It makes sense between Stafford, Coach Sean McVay, and an excellent receiving duo of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, which no one's gonna argue with the receiving core, with the offense opportunities that they have available. But anyway, the Rams can contend if things break right on defense and the offensive line. For sure. That's fair. I think you could say that about just about any good offensive team. You could say that about the 49ers, right? Just as long as the offensive line and defense does their job, right? Okay. The Rams did make one of their largest and most obvious errors in the draft, trading a 5th-round pick and a future 2nd-round pick just to move up from 52 to 39 to select Fiske, which is Braden, which is an interesting one. And there's been a lot of criticism on that. But let's just okay. So they have a 12-win season to win the division. Let's just talk about the number of teams here where I could see the Rams get a loss. Not even going to say they will lose, but just I could see it for sure happening, okay? So opening game against the Lions, they could lose that game. 49ers twice, let's remember that, okay? Let's see here. Packers, that's a tough game. Bears, I'm going to leave off because that's a question mark right now. If Caleb Williams is as good as everyone says he is, then that's definitely a game, but I won't add it to the list, okay? Vikings could be a tough one. I know it's the Vikings are always a tough game, but we'll see. We'll see about that one. I'll give them that. So we got a half for the Bears and a half for the Vikings adds up to 1, let's say. Okay. Let's assume that they beat the Seahawks and the Cardinals both times. If they're a 12-win team, they probably do that. They still have to beat the Dolphins. That's 6. Eagles, that's 7. Bills, that's 8. Jets, that's 9. And I add in there, by the way, the 49ers because they have to play us twice. So that's 9 potential losses, like easy potential losses in my mind, depending on how things shake up this season for all these teams, of course, injuries, all that stuff. You have to just have a massive caveat for that. But my goodness, crazy take to say that the LA Rams are going to be that good this season after last season. Now, they could be. I'm not going to say they're not an improved team from last season. I think they are probably slightly improved on the offensive side of the ball. Sure. On the defensive side of the ball, question mark. We'll see. It's going to be interesting, and we'll have our shot at playing them. I still think we're going to split those games. I think we're going to beat them once and we're going to lose to them once, just because it seems unrealistic to think with our tough schedule, we won't lose a game in the division again this season. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think this is a lot of fun to talk about the 49ers because, as I've always said, and I even opened up this video saying, what a time to be alive.